Hey, this is Jared and Nate over at eCarrier Check, and we want to break down, relationships. At the end of the day, eCarrier Check's truly a sourcing platform, right? We want to connect you with shippers. We want to connect you with brokers. We want to connect you with carriers. Our goal is to help build relationships, right? This is what we do every single day. We have a platform that helps you find and build relationships, and it's a cool platform. I mean, honestly, it keeps you organized, helps you communicate. There's some great features in there. Check out a demo. But today I really want to talk about building relationships. How many times, Nate, have you heard in our lives or in as you're doing demos, this is a relationship business?
A lot. Almost every day.
Right?
Yeah.
You hear it all the
Every
time,
day.
right? And so I really want to talk about what that actually means. How do you build relationships?
Yeah.
What do those relationships look like? Should they be one-sided, two-sided? How do you grow a good relationship, right?
Yeah,
So today we're going to break down 5 components that we think are key, that we feel are fairly key to building those, because I truly believe that I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't have great relationships in my life.
Yep, same here.
I obviously, Nate, you have built a lot of relationships over your life. How have you found those relationships? How did you build those relationships? What was it that, your mom, your dad, your brothers, sisters, those people they count.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They were forced into your life at the very, very beginning, right? But you've built a lot of relationships over the years, especially in the last 5 years. If you think about how many relationships have I built in the last 5 years, how did those relationships come about?
Yeah, that's a good question, honestly. And relationships for me, how they kind of came upon was from knowing someone else. And then obviously what's nice, we have technology nowadays to where you can keep in touch with that person.
Yeah.
So technology really is one of those keys to staying in touch with that person, whether if it's a person or a shipper, you know what I mean? So keeping those relationships is huge, I think. And technology can be a very helping tool.
Yeah. So I got to tell you this. My grandma, when she passed away, and this was a while back, I was really close to my grandma. Mm-hmm. And when we were cleaning out her apartment at that particular time, I found a box, and it wasn't a shoebox. It was kind of like what you'd get copy paper in.
Yeah.
And it was full of letters that my grandpa wrote to her because they were, he was in the war, and then he ended up having to live in a VA, which was a couple hundred miles away from here. And so it was interesting, they kept their relationship alive by the technology that was available. And that was a stamp and a piece of ink and a piece of paper.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It is. And it took, 3 to 4 to 5 days. Yeah. I would look at, this was something that I found was really interesting. He would date every letter, and then I would look at when it was postmarked, and it would take 3 days to get to her.
Yeah. And now what we're doing is screenshotting text messages. And I know, what a world we live in.
I love it. So technology, now we're talking personal relationships, but technology will help you build professional relationships, right? Oh, yeah. Let's talk about how to do that, though. You have to have some place for people to know who you are or what your company does.
Yep.
And, there's some obvious ones. Obviously, a website is probably key. Not necessary, but it's something that people want to hear your story. They don't want to see just a friggin' Facebook page or a website. They want to hear your story. Why'd you start the company? Where'd your company come from? Did your dad give you, $50,000 and you bought a truck and this is what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
You got to find some technology that works for you to tell your story at whatever level you're at. Mm-hmm. I love LinkedIn. I find it to be a very engaging platform. It's a professional platform where I can see peers in the industry and what they're doing and what they're following and how they're following it, all those things. But at the end of the day, professionally speaking, okay, you have to have some technology that represents who your company is.
Yeah.
Website, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it may be. I think that's number one. People need to know who you are. There is 8 billion people on this planet. They just announced that last week.
Oh, gosh.
That is so many people. How do you build relationships in a day and age when people don't like to talk to each other?
Right. And there's, like you said, there's so many people, and obviously they're doing what we're doing. They're on their phones. They're searching.
Yeah,
They're going to stumble across you, but you have to put yourself out there.
you do. You got to put yourself out there. And can it be awkward? Absolutely. I've got a face for radio, but I don't mind getting out there and teaching some of the things that I've learned over the last, since 2008 of being in the freight industry, and being able to go out and build some incredible relationships that have truly changed my life.
Definitely.
So that's the ultimate goal, building new relationships to change your life, to change their life. You never know how you can, just add value to people's lives just through your experiences.
And I think you'd be surprised that as you add value to people's lives, there's a good chance that they're going to, refer other people towards you. So it's nice when you have those relationships, it's like a domino effect. People are going to start hearing about you and they're going to want to come see what's going on. And, that's really cool how you can do that. And it's there.
Yeah. That's a good point, is how do you add value to people's lives? In a relationship setting, what is it that you can do to add value to them? Let's talk personally, because that's easier.
Yeah.
And then let's talk professionally.
Good. This is awesome. I love this, by the way. Communication. You have to understand where they're coming from. Put yourself last. I know sometimes it's not the easiest thing to do, but you want to try to help them as much as you can. And then obviously in return, let's see what they can give back as well. But I think personally, for me, it's communication, asking what they need from you, what would help you, stuff like that.
Yeah. I think that we live to the standards of the questions that we ask in our life. And whether you're asking yourself, because you have to have a good relationship with yourself.
Yep.
You have to believe in yourself. You can't talk bad about yourself, right? Number one relationship needs to be with here. It's right here, right? But in a personal setting, you need to express, how do you communicate to their communication style? And that can be via phone, that can be via email, that can be picking up the phone, that can be a text, whatever it may be. Right. You have to communicate at their level. I communicate. I got 3 kids. And it's so interesting that I need to choose 3 different types of communication to just communicate to the 3 different kids.
Yeah.
2 of them are twins. This doesn't even count.
Yeah, and you understand how to relate to them.
Exactly.
Because we're all different.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's huge. You have to relate to people, right? We talk about how important relationships are. How do you relate to people? How do you show interest in what it is that they're interested about? Because, man, I tell you what, it's just one of those things that you just have to, you got to find a way to bring relevancy to the communication, the standard of what you're doing. I think something that a lot of people overlook in today's world is actually picking up the phone, right? We used to have a phone on the wall. It was kind of interesting when I grew up. I had a phone on the wall. We had a teen line. It was kind of cool. And you picked it up, and I had a 47-foot cord on this thing, and I could take it all the way to my, to my bedroom and shut the door, and my parents didn't have to hear me talking about whatever we were talking about. And in some particular cases, it was inappropriate. Let's be honest.
Yep.
But, when you pick up the phone, Nate, what does that make you feel like? Do you think you're
powerful?
Okay.
Powerful.
I love that.
That phone is I say this every week on demos. The phone is so powerful. We can send 100 emails, and guess what? They're also getting another 100 emails from someone else.
Yeah.
Probably the exact same thing. But on the phone, you have the opportunity to be yourself. It's hard to be yourself in an email.
I love that.
But you have the opportunity to be yourself. You also have the opportunity to have the ball in your court and to plan your next step too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think, picking up the phone, it's one of those things that truly, when they invented this, and we've, as humans, developed so many other different ways of communicating. I mean, for crying out loud, the dating apps, you actually swipe based upon how they look.
Right.
We're communicating whether they're visually
Yeah.
appealing or not. You have no idea if they're interesting or if they're not. They're kind of bland people. You have no idea. You just visually appeal to them. But picking up the phone and hearing somebody's voice and asking them questions about their business, adding value to their business. We talked to so many dispatchers, and the other day, this lady said, when I pick up the phone, I ask them simply a question that they probably are wondering, have you booked your first shipment yet?
Yeah.
Right? How have you been successful? And again, it's that question thing. And so, in my opinion, as you are starting to try to build relationships or starting to add people into your life, that is it a one-way street or is it a two-way street? You always have to keep it. It's got to be a two-way street.
Yeah.
Relationships have to be a give and take.
I agree. Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things that you've got to take time, pick up the phone, and leave voicemails. If nobody answers, leave a voicemail.
Yeah.
And be genuine. They don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Jared over at eCarrier Check. I'd love to talk to you about this. Give them your phone number and move on.
Right.
Follow up, right?
Yep.
Something that really changed the way that I looked at relationships, especially at a younger age. I had the opportunity to read this book. I struggle at reading, to be honest with you. I have to listen to a lot of books. But one of my favorite books is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I know it's an older book. This book's been out for a while, but truly this book, have you read this book, Nate?
No, but I'm very interested in listening to the audio.
It truly changed the way my life works. It allows me to understand people's character. It allows me to understand how people communicate. It allows me to understand watching body language and things like this, things that you wouldn't think about that are so important as you go out and try to do that. So please read How to Win Friends and Influence People. Listen to it by Dale Carnegie. I think there's even a YouTube. You can just listen to it on YouTube, I think.
Awesome.
So somebody take a look at that and go from there. And I think last but certainly not least, how many people have you talked to where whether you're a sales rep and you're calling shippers, or you're a broker or a dispatcher, and you're calling carriers, and you hear the same thing over. I don't want to bother them. You hear this all the time. I don't want to bother them. It's not the right time. I only make calls between 9 and 12 instead of 7 or 8, or you know what I mean?
Or this guy or this carrier said he doesn't need a dispatcher.
Yes,
or
exactly.
This shipper doesn't need a broker.
Exactly.
Yeah, constantly. And you can't give up. You have to stay consistent, because I feel like if you give up on those no's, it's a no today, but what about next week, or what about next month or next year?
Right.
Those could be yeses.
Yeah.
So building that task or that strategy of following up with those no's and staying consistent, communicating.
Oh yeah.
I think will really help, with you getting stuck on just the no's and quitting.
Yeah.
Because there's more to that.
Yeah. There's so many people that do that. You got to think like from a personal standpoint, my wife, I'm surprised that she even took the chance of dating me. You know what I mean? I had asked multiple times, hey, let's go out on a date. Let's go out, that particular time I was below the drinking age. So I was like, hey, let's go get lunch, but I didn't give up, because I really connected with her and I really enjoyed her company. Right. Yeah. And so you're going to get a lot of no's in this industry.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of people that are busy and they're not ready for your relationships. It's so interesting how relationships have come in and out of my life when I needed them the most. I've had some incredible friends, and they were really, truly in my life for only a couple years, and they got married and moved on, or they moved and I just kind of lost track of their time. But everybody, I honestly think there's like this energy. People come into my life as I need them, and they need me. And so I'm always open and looking for relationships. I'm always open to having a conversation and just trying to understand what people are doing and why they're doing it. And I honestly think if you can keep that curiosity mentality, continue to stay curious and ask questions, because you're going to find people will come in and out of your life. So when you need them and when they need you.
Yeah. And I'm a big TikTok guy. So I actually was watching a video last night, stuck with me. People will leave, out of your life. It's for a reason. So other people are able to come in to your life.
Yeah.
And things fall apart for other things to be building. That's better, better things to come. So
I love that.
Don't give up, stay, there's opportunities out there waiting for you. What's kind of nice, I actually had this opportunity to meet with a broker that's local here, and he's new to the business. And he actually had his first shipper to quote. And he wasn't getting as much money as he thought he would right away.
Right.
But I told him, I said, this is a relationship. This is an opportunity. Spend this relationship and start building that relationship, building trust. and then take action. I
Oh,
told them
yeah.
to take action.
Yeah, I love that. It's
Yeah.
so good that it really hits it on the head, especially for those new guys that are out there. I truly believe, and we say this a lot, we're only one relationship away from changing our lives, from changing their lives. And so always be giving in relationships, always be looking to help people. And I think you'll get that in return.
100%.
So, Nate, anything else to add to relationships? I think this is such a key component to our industry.
Just for those out there that are struggling with, being comfortable or being uncomfortable with being comfortable, right? Or vice versa, however it's said. But you have to get yourself out there.
Yeah.
Just do things you wouldn't normally do. Try to get uncomfortable. You'd be surprised on how you'll act different. You can push yourself.
Yeah.
You'll become a better person. And
Absolutely.
whether personally or at work. So
yeah, there's a line that you can walk between vulnerable and scared.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with relationships. The first girl that you asked out is, you're nervous. There's butterflies, right? It's the same thing with cold calls. It's just one of those things.
Let's do it.
So, guys, I appreciate you taking the time. Go build some relationships. We've got so many people out there that need what you do. Whether you're a trucking company, a dispatcher, a broker, whatever it may be, there's so many people out there that need your help, but you got to stay persistent with those relationship goals. Okay. Guys, have a great day. We'll talk to you later.